Years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful, hot Friday afternoon in Nashville, Tennessee. You might be able to tell in the background that we're at First Horizon Park. The Sounds take on Jacksonville tonight, 6:35. Jacksonville is the Marlins AAA affiliate, which likely means they've got some pretty good young pitching. By the way, all three games this weekend are night games. Sunday, 6:05, and they're expecting huge crowds in all three of them. What the Sounds front office has done in growing their fan base, the people that come out here, it's been incredible. In the old days, Sunday nights was not a big draw in the heat of summer. But apparently they have found some gold in that area, and kudos to Adam English and their entire front office. We will get you the obligatory stadium shot later. Let me just do this real quickly. SEC football media days are over.
Woo!
Woo. Hello, Billy.
Hello, George.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank God those are over. It was a blast, though.
It was.
It was a real blast. Got to see and talk to a lot of really cool people that have done a lot in college football, obviously connect because it was in Nashville, and it was almost like we were in Atlanta last year. It was almost easier to get around in Atlanta than it was in Nashville because of all the construction going on at the Grand Hyatt.
Yeah, but I'll say this, and hope to have Scott Ramsey on Monday to talk about it. I thought the Sports Council, Convention and Visitors Bureau, everybody involved.
They worked a miracle.
Oh, my God. Getting the media back and forth to the parking areas, the shuttle system that they used was downright incredible.
It was efficient. I mean.
Yeah, and I'll guarantee you some of the stuff that got written probably was nicer just for that very fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they worked with what they had, even though if what they had was a ton of construction.
Ooh.
But on the flip side, I think it was a cool deal because, you'd look out the windows where we are, and, yeah, we called it Cranesville, but that's not a bad thing, right? It makes it a little bit harder to get around, but, I mean, I saw a bunch of tweets and posts and comments from talking to people, and they thought it was really cool how much Nashville's growing. And it's a destination city for the SEC, and they want it to be.
Yeah,
I mean, they love coming to Nashville.
I've got mixed feelings about it, having grown up here. There's some growing pains to all this. I think our next mayor has got to figure out the happy middle ground in downtown.
Yeah,
because there's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah,
to what's going on. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Paul Feinbaum pulled me aside at one point yesterday and said, y'all are becoming Atlanta.
He's
close.
Right. He's right about that.
Getting closer.
The traffic is almost as bad the amount of people in the city might be pretty close to Atlanta now. But I mean, we're looking out at First Horizon Park. You guys can usually see behind us the field. The lighting's a lot better this way, so we switched it around. But I mean, the hotel progress there, not hotel, but apartment progress they've made is awesome. So
are we going to do the obligatory stadium shot?
We can. We certainly can.
Can we?
I've got to get up to do that.
Okay. Why don't you do that right now?
All right.
Just so we can say, this should be interesting. Turn that down, if you will. What we're first going to show you in the obligatory stadium shot is the upper deck. So we'll aim the camera. By the way, we're in their lounge area, which is beautiful. So let's go to the left down the third base line. There is the upper deck and the whole third base stuff. Now, take a look in the outfield, because Billy was right when he said the apartment complexes that are being built out there, man, they have made a ton of progress since the last time I was out here. And then we go to right center, and you see a little bit more of what's going on in and around Nashville, Tennessee. That is our obligatory stadium shot. Who knows? You may get another one before it's over. It's a heck of a lot better than taking a look at me. However, we've got some fun stuff on the show today. At 3 o'clock, you are going to hear a bunch of the Lane Kiffin rant from yesterday. And I'll say this up front. What he said is the truth. The problem is he's the one that said it, because I don't think his reputation, if Nick Saban had said the exact same things that Lane Kiffin did, everybody'd be saying, oh, he's absolutely right.
Right.
But because it was Kiffin, and by the way, when was the last time he combed his hair? My God, he looked like he'd just gotten out of bed.
He needs to borrow your brush, George.
Oh, yeah. Where is that thing when he needs it? So, do we have an update today?
We do. We've got a lot of the update today.
I know we do.
I want to start with this. This was released about 11, maybe noon around lunchtime, the preseason SEC media poll and the all SEC teams. And we'll start in the East, George. Georgia, number 1. No shock.
Not a big surprise, no.
Number 2, Tennessee. Picked by the media to finish right behind
probably
Georgia.
Probably not a surprise.
Nope. And then South Carolina, right behind Tennessee.
Boy, they don't have much confidence in Florida, do they?
No. Kentucky right behind Carolina, and then Florida behind Kentucky, and then Missouri and Vandy.
Okay, now you apparently have a rant on the Vandy front.
George, Vandy got 8 first-place votes to win the East. Missouri and Florida didn't get any. Kentucky got 1. Carolina got 3. Tennessee got 14 for reference. They also got 5 votes to win the conference. What has this turned in? I mean, that's a joke.
Yeah, I don't know.
And we're from Nashville. We grew up going to Vanderbilt games, but that doesn't change the fact that Vanderbilt got 5 votes from apparently credentialed members of the media.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
That's ridiculous.
I can't answer that.
And we were there. I got a ballot. I put out a ballot. But I mean, that's a joke. I mean, this has turned into a useless deal that used to be where you look before the season, 3 or 4 weeks before the season starts. This is released and you get a lot of talk about it. But now, I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's no answer. If you're the SEC, you're sitting there saying, I know it doesn't matter a whole lot anyway.
But it just means more.
But it is the SEC. I mean, that shouldn't be that way. So,
as some of you know, I've changed the slogan this week to "It just pays more."
They are made of money, George. In the West, Alabama picked to finish first in the West, but not far behind LSU. That was the big debate.
That's a big. I mean, that's sort of a toss-up. Now, a lot of this ought to be based on taking a look at the team's schedules,
right?
Because you'll find. I can remember several years ago, Ole Miss had 3 monster games in a row at a point in the season when Bo Wallace was there and they were ranked in the top 5 in the country. And by the time the third game happened at LSU, they got beat up pretty good. And so if you find a team that has 3 really hard conference games in a row, They're going to lose one of them.
Yeah, for Alabama,
likely.
They had Tennessee and LSU on the road last year.
Yeah.
They get them both at home this year.
Right.
So that's a huge advantage. Texas A&M picked to finish third.
Payback, by the way, in those things is an itch. Sorry.
And then behind A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, and Mississippi State. George, from about 3 to 7 in the West, who the hell knows what's going to happen? I mean, A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State.
Hold on. Read all those in order again.
Texas A&M.
Third.
Good
Lord. Somebody thinks they're going to fix their quarterback deal.
Yeah. And Wegman.
To be third.
Connor Wegman's
He might be.
He's a good player. They brought in Bobby Petrino.
But there's not enough proof there for me.
No, on the field. I mean, 5-7 last year. Ole Miss after A&M.
Okay.
Arkansas, which I like Arkansas. I like Arkansas a lot this year.
Call them hogs.
Call the Hogs. Auburn, and then Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a team that's going to have a chip on their shoulder.
Well,
and I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I mean, I'm not as high on Auburn as.
Here's one thought about it. Okay, Zach Arnett apparently is ditching what Mike Leach did. All this air raid stuff. He's more of a lineup power football.
Yeah.
I think you have to do it a little bit at a time. If you try to go cold turkey, it's a round peg in a square hole. I saw this up close and personal when Jerry DiNardo left Vandy and Rod Dowhauer came in, mid-90s. I was the announcer. It was a round peg in a square hole.
Yeah.
He better be careful because he might find that they don't do either one very well.
Yeah, he's got a good quarterback in Rodgers.
He's got a really good quarterback.
He's got a really good running back, too. So it'll be interesting to see how much they change in Starkville.
Here's the thing, though, Billy. Those offensive linemen have spent 3 years doing absolutely no run blocking.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be asked to fully line up with the big boys in a running game. I don't think it's going to work.
Man, that's why I think they were picked last. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a huge reason. In terms of the SEC champion, of course, Georgia, heavy favorite to win the conference this year. And then right behind them, Alabama. Then right behind Bama is LSU. And then Tennessee got 5 votes. And this is where Vandy comes in at 5 votes. I mean, theoretically, according to the media, Vandy's a top 5 team in the conference to win that's a joke to me. So, and another nugget here, in the 31-year history of the poll, George, only 9 times has the media correctly predicted the conference's champion. Yeah. So that tells you a little bit about how much this means. It doesn't mean more to the media, apparently. In terms of the players,
it just pays more.
That's the only thing it pays more. In terms of the players, George, quarterback Jaden Daniels from LSU, Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, who was with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin yesterday, Raheem Rocket Sanders from Arkansas, Malik Neighbors from LSU, Ladd McConkey from Georgia, and Brock Bowers from Georgia. Speaking of Georgia, to have a guy like Brock Bowers is quite a weapon.
I think he's been a pro for 2 years, masquerading as a college player. I don't mean that in an NIL way. Yeah. I mean, I think he's really damn good.
And I think in the NFL, he might turn into the best tight end of the NFL in year 1 or year 2.
He could be way up there.
No Vandy players on any of the teams, which, I mean, it's not rare, but I mean, no Will Shepherd. I think we expect big things from Will Shepherd. He was not on the first, second, or third team. So
he would have been the closest.
I think he should have.
Yeah.
He probably should have. 4 Tennessee players were named. Wide receiver Brew McCoy made the second team. Joe Milton was the third team quarterback, which I thought was interesting. And he's joined by a couple of offensive linemen. So that's what the SEC media released today. Second note, the British Open, they're calling it the Open Championship now.
Whatever.
The Open.
The Open.
Roy
Jordan Spieth.
Leaderboard right now. Brian Harmon at -10 is 5-shot lead right now. Tommy Fleetwood behind him at 5 under. Sepp Straka, young kid who's played really well as of late at 4 under. Jason Day is also up there. Jordan Spieth is up there.
Jordan Spieth.
Wyndham Clark is also up there. A couple of notes, though. Justin Thomas has been struggling, George. He missed the cut. That's only his 3rd major cut. He's going to head to next weekend's 3M Open with 2 tournaments left in the regular season. He's ranked 75th in the FedEx Cup right now. the top 70 make the playoffs for the FedEx Cup.
Right on that cut line.
He's also at risk of missing the Ryder Cup, which I'm sure he'd like to play in. And he's made the Tour Championship for 7 straight years. So
wow.
Justin Thomas is a guy to watch in this for a lot of people. So that's the Open Leaderboard. Third note, and I think we knew this was coming, Titan safety Kevin Byard has agreed to a restructured contract. According to NFL Network, his $14.1 million base salary is going to be reduced to $11 million. And, of course, that cleared up space to bring in DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I'm assuming he and Rand Carthon, who did not get off to a great start, have probably sat down without all of us seeing it and sort of gotten through their differences. Byard is and should be a Tennessee Titan because in the end, he probably has as much, what's the word I'm looking for here? Connectivity to the fan base as any player they have.
No doubt.
And frankly, they don't have many who do. Even more important, besides the fact he's a heck of a football player, they need some connectivity with the community.
They don't really have a ton.
Not a lot.
Not right now. Did you know, George? Kevin Byard has never missed a game in 7 years with the Titans. I was stunned by that.
Called durable.
I couldn't believe that. He's 29, almost 30. So hopefully I didn't knock on wood there this season for Byard. But, George, we got a comment in here on Twitter from our boy Palmer Toms, who we had on the show.
What did he say?
He said, Brian Harmon, Sepp Straka, both Georgia Bulldogs. So,
wow.
Palmer chiming in. I didn't know that.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Lastly here, Aaron Rodgers, of course, is a New York Jet, which we know.
He's playing so much nicer in the sandbox.
According to ESPN's Rich Cimini, the Jets would be shocked if their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, doesn't play in 2024. I look at that and say, I don't know. If he gets hurt out for the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is really early on this stuff.
But I think it's the question.
But I think right now his mindset is he's going to.
Yeah, and
now
it
things could change.
He's not in Green Bay anymore.
No,
he's
a different color of green.
He's in the metropolitan of New York, so it's
all very lovey-dovey right now. You know, he's a leader. He's
shaking hands and kissing babies.
He's cleaned up his hair. You know, he doesn't look nasty like he did in Green Bay. I mean, there clearly has been some level of attitude adjustment that whether it's his agent or he decided on his own, I need to clean it up and look like a little more solid citizen. He's come off being a lot less weird than he had been. Hair looks better.
No more ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Whatever. Hey, I'm going to throw a note at you. Okay. We have all watched this week the Saquon Barkley stuff.
Yes.
Okay. He and the Giants were not able to come to an agreement. And that has spawned a lot of talk, a lot of it with him threatening not to play this year. The problem with that is twofold. Number one, it will cripple the Giants. They're not getting to the playoffs without Saquon Barkley. And secondly, it doesn't really help him at all.
No.
So you've had a bunch of running backs who have come out and said, this is BS. Our worth has been sent down to nothing. Has anybody thought of the word collusion? It sure looks to me like it's collusion.
You're calling collusion.
All I'm saying is this. In the mid-1980s, baseball got absolutely clobbered. Peter Ueberroth, the commissioner, organized essentially among the owners, we're not signing any free agents.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, the Baseball Players Union took them to court and beat the ever-living snot out of them.
Sure did.
If you look right now, what is really going on in the NFL with the running backs could well be collusion. And it is a great day in sports. You know why?
Why?
Daniel Snyder is gone.
Out.
Get him out of here.
Mr. Small Stuff.
What a I don't even want to say it.
What were you going to say, George?
Well, I was going to say it, but I'm not going to say it.
Hey, coming up.
I'm not a big fan.
Guess who's coming up on the show?
Mississippi State's finest.
Yes, and Lexington, Tennessee's finest as well.
You know, I wonder if he even knows about a couple of his alums in the baseball world.
Well, let's just ask him.
Well, we will. Why don't we go to the break?
Let's do it.
Okay. When we come back, former Mississippi State Bulldog and now Nashville Sounds pitcher Ethan Small will join us on our set. Later in the show, Lane Kiffin went berserk yesterday. We'll show you a bunch of it. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the three biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through two different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. We're back. Interesting footnote. I after a year of driving back and forth from Nashville to Memphis when I was Memphis State's announcer, I felt like I had every mile marker memorized. Lexington, Tennessee on the interstate is mile marker 108. Jackson, where Ethan Small was born, mile marker 82. I know my mile markers. Nashville Sounds pitcher and Mississippi State Bulldog Ethan Small joins us here at our broadcast site. Thanks for coming up here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you've got a little experience against Vandy. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, well, quite a bit, I guess you would say. Yeah, we went to came to a super regional here in 2018, and I believe probably the best 3-game series baseball. There may be a better one, but that one was definitely one for the history books.
Razor's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
What game did you pitch in?
I believe I think I threw game 1 there. I think I did.
I rooted against you.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
So you all got to Nashville in the super regional by winning on Florida State's home field as either a 2 or a 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, that regional, like we were talking about before we came on, we lost that first game somewhere around 20-10, and but that team, we had business being in the tournament, but it had been a real grind with the coaching changes and all that kind of crazy stuff that I won't get into a whole lot. But yeah, we stuck it out, and we got some absolute dynamite pitching performances that whole regional, and then the bats came alive for the last 2 games.
What made you choose State?
State really, like, I would say I didn't know much about that school, even in going into my senior year. Like, I couldn't tell you where it was on a map going into that year, to be honest with you. But the summer team I was playing with, Jake Mangum, who's here with the Shrimp, he was committed there. Played with him growing up. Austin Riley, another big name on that summer team, who ended up going in the draft.
Horn Lake?
Yeah,
right in that area.
Yep. And just a lot of guys on that summer team were committed there, and I had played with them already, so it was just a comfort thing and going where some of my buddies were going.
So Austin Riley committed to Mississippi State?
Yep.
Billy, listen to this one. He was a punter on the football team.
He's a very good one, too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good at everything he does, really.
Yeah. And I like that. I'm a big Braves fan.
Yep.
So one of the things I learned in the 90s, I got the opportunity. It was the old Sports South, which then morphed into, I don't know, CSS or whatever. I got the chance to do a Mississippi State LSU Saturday night doubleheader in Starkville. Oh my God. Do they tailgate or what?
Yeah. There was several games where you legitimately thought we might have to pause it just to let the grill smoke clear out. So, but that's how we like it. And after the game's over, you go out there, get a couple wings, some barbecue, whatever you want.
Has it always been that way?
I believe so. Yeah, since the inception of it.
Okay, I'll ask one more, and then we'll get to your pro life. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, nasty rivalry in football. We all see it on Thanksgiving night. They don't like each other.
No.
What's it like when they play in baseball?
Well, I believe we're, and at least in recent history, we're winning that rivalry pretty handily. I can't remember. I'm going to say this the wrong way, but it was like 15-something wins against them to like 2 losses, I believe, when I was there. But a similar thing. So, like, no, we don't like them at all. But as far as their players goes, a lot of their guys actually did come from the same like summer teams we came from. So we did know them, but it was 100% still heated rivalry.
Let's talk pros. When you get drafted by Milwaukee, this has been, I'm sure, a great experience because you have great crowds. You were used to amazing crowds in college, but early in your minor league life, was it a little bit of a come down? Some of the places you would play, and it's, crickets.
Right. I still have Clinton, Iowa burned into my brain, I think, along with everybody who's gone through that place. For those that don't know, I don't even know what's going on there anymore, if it still exists or what, but basically
it makes Starkville look like a metropolis.
Oh, well, yeah, it absolutely does. It's basically the clubhouse was like I want to say like a field house, but like more like a shack. And then the floor was just dirt, and the whole moldy showers and all that stuff. So I was happy we only stayed there for a few days. Let's just say that.
So Clinton, Iowa. Where else before Nashville?
Well, I started I started in the Arizona League, which is perfectly fine because it's our complex. It's really super nice.
Great weather.
Yeah, depends on when you go. But that was middle of summer, 110 degrees at 7:00 game time. Then went to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, that affiliate's really nice. It's just some of the places you go to in that league need a little bit of renovation, to say the least. And then Biloxi, I love Biloxi. Biloxi was a great stop. And then here, obviously, the best one.
Yeah. Having done minor league baseball on radio for 2 years in college and then 2 years after that, what I've learned, or what I did learn, this is a tough business.
Mm-hmm.
Like the NFL, where the number 1 draft pick guaranteed to be on, for instance, the Titans roster opening day. You may be a number 1 draft pick, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah. So, well, that's the tough thing about baseball is the skill gaps between even college and AA, I would say, is pretty high. And then you come to like another significant jump from AA to AAA, it gets immensely better. And then AAA to the big leagues is probably the biggest jump of all. I mean, it just keeps getting harder. I would say it's probably the hardest sport to transition from amateur to like the major league version of that sport, just because of how big the skill gaps are in between the levels.
Did you feel like you had an advantage coming out because of SEC? Remember, I've been at SEC football media days for the last 4 days. Remember, it just means more. I've changed the slogan. It just pays more.
Yeah. Well, they definitely do now with NIL, right? But yeah, I mean, I think the SEC is just it's a good conference, and if you put up good enough numbers there, it's going to stand out regardless of probably what sport you play or how you play it. You put up good numbers there, and people are going to take notice.
Do you start in a higher classification because of SEC?
I think that's possible. I don't think that's a guarantee. But I think just in general, being a college age player, especially if you're more advanced and you go toward, probably top 10 round guy, that you're probably on a pretty fast track to AA, and then you got to start really putting up numbers to work your way up.
Help me if I'm wrong on this. You've had a couple of cups of coffee with Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what even a day on the major league level is like.
It's really cool. It's hard to say. It's the first time. It's obviously your dream coming true. And for me, it was Wrigley Field, and I believe it was a Monday. And I was like, well, it's Monday. There's probably not going to be that many people here. And I walk out, and there's 34 something thousand. I couldn't see an empty seat. And I'm like, okay, so this is just a normal Monday in Chicago, I guess. But it's just that, and that's what you want to play in front of. That's what you've been watching on TV since you were able to have memories, and then all of a sudden you're in the center of it, especially as a pitcher. Like nothing happens until you throw the baseball. So being in that moment is pretty special.
I'm going to try it this way. I've never asked this before, but if you could write out the Ethan Small report right now that Milwaukee might have, what does it say as far as Ethan needs to do X to get up here and stay up here?
Right. I think the biggest thing probably for me is just staying in the strike zone and then continuing to get results. Like there's, you have good outings, and then and here the bad ones are bad, the good ones are good, or whatever. But you'll have those in between ones where it could have gone one way and it could have gone the other, and you got through it. But really, what you want to get is get as close to that cluster of good outings. Continue to make that happen, and then try to just really, it's a consistency thing, especially out of the bullpen. You don't really want to be going 2 good outings, 1 bad outing, good, bad, kind of thing like that. You want to string together a lot of consistent good performances, and then hopefully they see that and want to make a change.
Do you pay attention to their injury situation under the theory that if the right guy goes, you're not doing this interview right now. You're looking at me going, listen, I'm headed to the airport. See ya.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a possibility. Like the guys on the roster, and even the ones who are performing really, really well that aren't. We obviously know about all that stuff. Like we see. I mean, most of our information comes from Twitter, anyways. But you see it, and you talk about it with the guys. But as far as just that stuff, like the guys who have gone through it so much, the up and down thing. you don't really let it worry you, because at the end of the day, like, all I know for sure is I have a game here tonight that I might pitch in. So I'm going to prepare for that. And, whatever they want to do, they're going to do.
Okay, last thing. I want to go back to Mississippi State and Mike Leach, because when he passed away, the outpouring was unbelievable. And as somebody who interviewed him a couple of times, you never knew what was coming.
That's true.
He would say anything, and he would take you on paths that you'd never even dreamed of in your interview. For athletes who were there, what was he like?
I actually never got to meet him personally. I wish I did. I've always found him to be hilarious for, all the obvious reasons. But yeah, tremendously sad. And, the Mississippi State community, as far as it, that goes, just, really hurt by that. Yep. Obviously all people close to him, which is a lot of people nationally, I know. So just real sad thing.
The outpouring, it shocked me. There were, because he'd always had a little bit of a reputation of being a little weird, a little out there. And yet there apparently was a very compassionate, warm side to him that I never got to know. But too many people said it for it to just be phony.
Right. No, I 100% believe that. And, Mississippi State's a place where, they say, family is everything there. And it's a pretty tight-knit group. And, he was one of ours for a little while. And, they definitely showed up for him.
Thanks for taking the time to come over here.
Yeah, thank you.
Do not put this on the resume. They'll never call you up.
You're right.
Wow. Did you tell him to say that?
He said it first.
Wow. Hey, good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Ethan Small has been our guest. We'll go to the break, and then we'll have a few thoughts on what the last 4 days have been like. But first, Ethan, you need to learn about the Music City Grand Prix, which is 2 weeks from now, and you'll be able to hear it on a Sunday while you're out here batting practice, all that kind of stuff. I've never been to a Grand Prix, and yet so many of you have said it's one of the coolest events you have ever seen. Thus, I am going. I've been invited. You're darn tootin' I'm going. I don't know what to expect, but I know that a lot of you who had never been have come away saying you are really going to enjoy this. Tickets have been on sale now for about 2 months. It's very simple. Go to musiccitygp.com. You can start at the ground floor, general admission, work your way all the way up toward the top with amenities like crazy. It will be a tremendous weekend. I can't wait to experience it. What are you waiting for? Get online, get your tickets.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Byard, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Byard difference at byarddifference.com.
We are back here at First Horizon Park. The Sounds are going to have not only a fireworks show tonight, but a 6:35 game against Jacksonville, which is the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. And there's the adjustment of the old camera. Move it as far back as possible. The less they see, the better. But we're going to take a few minutes here and give you some thoughts about what we have experienced over the last 4 days. First of all, the part that I personally don't enjoy is some of the Q&A in the big media room between the person that stands up saying, "I'm Joe Jones from WBBB and such." You get a lot of cliches and a lot of BS, and a lot of coaches. And I'm not saying I blame them, because they really have been put in a position where they get burned enough where they say, "I'm not saying anything." It'll end up as bulletin board material, but that stuff gets old.
The coach speak.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, in today's day and age, George, you're going to get questions about NIL. You're going to get questions about the portal. You're going to get questions about AI. I mean, some of the questions were ridiculous, but also Texas and Oklahoma are headed to the SEC. So you got Texas media, you got Oklahoma media.
Way more than people thought would be there.
Yes, I was shocked about the amount of media that, I mean, Texas brought a bunch, Oklahoma brought several. And so those media members got some questions in to just about every coach. I mean, I was only up there for a few coaches up at the main podium, but every time I was, there was at least one question asked about either Texas and OU. So there's so many and I talked about this with Chris Lee, of course, who covered Vanderbilt forever and was there this week. He told me he's never seen a media days where there's less football talk about, Coach, what's up with your quarterback situation? What you lost 6 of 8 starters on the D line. How do you approach that this year? It was a lot of just NIL transfer. I mean, portal. So that's today's age.
What you see on Saturday, I think for the most part is fine. Now, I have always yelled that delicate balance between offense and defense has swung so far to the offense. That would be my one small criticism of college football. That maybe in games had gotten too long, had gone to the magic 3 hour and 45-minute mark. But all in all, what goes on Saturday is really still pretty good.
Yeah.
Off the field, it is rotten to the core right now. It's legalized cheating. It's transfer portal with schools illegally contacting players saying, hey, we noticed in the game against us, you didn't get to play a whole lot. Come on over to us. Grass is greener and it just pays more. And
it's crazy. It really is all about the money now.
Oh, it is. They're
It's
professionals
crazy.
in that respect because it's free agency every year.
It's about the coach's money. It's about the private jets. It's about the jewelry that the players have on. It's about, what color hair do they, I mean,
Oh my God, the hairdos.
some of the hairdos were interesting to say the least.
There were some interesting hairdos.
But this is something Chris and Lee and I also talked about. In the midst of all this chaos, and I don't want to single out Vandy in a positive way. People say I tend to do that, but Clark Lee at Vanderbilt
tend to do that.
Clark Lee at Vanderbilt is trying to build the program differently than the rest of the SEC. Number one, he has to, right? There's really no other option, but that's rare, right? And I mean, look at Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. He's talking about, player contracts and NIL and portal, and Clark Lee is talking about developing a program. So there's differences between coaches. I think Kirby Smart is in the Clark Lee mold. Of course, Nick Saban is, but you also get coaches like Lane Kiffin, where he'll go up there and, I mean, you don't know what he's going to say.
Well,
it starts at the top.
He's really into the Twitter and Facebook and how many clicks do you get. And clearly, I don't understand that world quite the way some of you watching this do. Do I think it really concerns him? I don't know. It's hard to tell because on one hand, he has used transfer portal as much as anybody. So in that way, what he said yesterday is a little bit two-faced, and he's come in for some criticism. But I do think what he's saying is, if these are the rules, this is how I got to play, but I think the rules suck. That's what I think he's saying.
And I agreed with him. I mean, most people agree with him that he's right. I mean, there were really no holes in anything he said. I thought it was well put. He's a smart guy. Like he's been in football for a long time. His dad, Monty Kiffin, was a good coach, right? I mean, Kiffin played at Fresno State, and he's an offensive genius, but he's also, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
He's a bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. We've had these panels with the sports speaker series. Kiffin would be a fun one to have up there.
Oh my God.
And just let him cut it loose. Like nothing that he said was wrong or false. But the other side of it is, like you said earlier, it's coming from Lane Kiffin. This wasn't, a Nick Saban up there talking about that or Kirby Smart. So, and I think that's the difference where maybe it's taken a little bit more seriously. Not that it isn't, because, I mean, there's all kinds of articles and talk about it. But say Nick Saban went up there and talked about all that, that would be the talk of the next 2 or 3 weeks.
One of the things that has been hard for me about Kiffin, Mike Hamilton and I got to be friends when he was the athletic director at Tennessee. At times, too honest for his own good. It bothered me when Kiffin ran out on him, in the off season, like in, I don't know, mid-January.
That didn't
whenever
feel right.
No, it didn't. And yet Mike has admitted to me that they have somehow retained a friendship, which I found interesting and surprising. So there's Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, and we're going to show you right at 3:00 a good chunk of the rant that you have not seen. And so I'm hoping that it'll get your attention. Other things that popped up for me, Tennessee. It's obvious to me right now, there's a lot of pressure on Joe Milton.
Sure is.
And I'm sure he knows it. But lurking in the background, this dark cloud that's got the word Nico.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be very interesting to see if he gets off to a slow start, do they kick him to the curb?
Well, we know Tennessee fans well, George. I mean, there's a bunch of them in the state. There's a bunch of them all across the country. And I got to talk to a Tennessee beat writer yesterday for Tennessee's Day. And I asked him about, the quarterback dynamic, right? Joe Milton's obviously the guy, and I think you asked this to Jimmy Himes, right?
I did.
If it gets messy, early,
then what?
Then what? What blank?
And I think
what happens? And he told me, he said, well, I know what the fans are going to say. They're going to say, we want Nico. What do the coaches do? I mean, that could create some issues. Potentially.
I think it's Jimmy's answer, which is, well, tell me how Nico has done in practice.
Yeah,
if he hadn't done well, they'll probably be more patient. If he's killed it,
boom. Boot him out. Yeah, and Joe Milton has pressure, but so does Josh Heupel and that entire team. I mean, you just had the best season since when? 1998. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's probably a little bit later than that, but one of the former years, 99, early 2000s. But I mean, George, this is hard. Look at Ole Miss after Kiffin's 10-2 season. What was it, 3 years ago? That next season after Corral left, they were an 8-4 team.
Yeah.
So
the piece can be very fragile.
Yeah, when your quarterback leaves, like a Hendon Hooker type who was here this week, that's hard. That's not easy to do. So, but the good thing for Tennessee is Joe Milton was tight with Hendon Hooker, still is, and you've got Josh Heupel leading that offense.
Next week, we're going to give you some images of SEC Media Day that are going to get your attention. The interview I did with Pat Forty about the Alabama baseball coach, Bohannon, who got fired in midseason. It's going to blow your mind what Pat's going to say. There are several interviews that we conducted that are really going to get your attention. The deal with Doring.
Yeah.
He's a terrific interview.
He is.
Chris Doring is as good as it gets, and I think is an underrated piece of their network.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyed. Kelly was the one who set that up. Anyway, next week.
Also, a conversation with David Cutcliffe,
who truly is the best interview every time I interview him. I've never come away with an interview that isn't any good. Thursday and Friday of next week, we will chop up what we did last Sunday night in the Sports Speaker Series and let you all see it in its entirety. If you love college football, you are going to love what it is we're going to show. We'll go to the break, stat of the day, followed by Lane Kiffin's rant. Plenty more coming from First Horizon Park in Nashville.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome back to the George Plaster Show, approaching the top of the hour, broadcasting live from the beautiful First Horizon Park, getting set for the Sounds and the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
Is that the
Jumbo Shrimp tonight, 6:30, first pitch.
Let's go shrimp.
Let's go eat some shrimp.
Wow.
That's what I'd like to do. It's time for Stat of the Day first, though. Brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, George, Stat of the Day. I think I've got a good one. We are 36 days away from week 0 of the college football season. Who is the winningest coach in college football history?
The first name that comes to mind is Eddie Robinson from Grambling. So let me just try that one, see if it works, and if it doesn't, we'll think from there.
Well, I'll say Power 5.
Ah, Power 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if I went college in general, from NAIA to Division I, it's not Eddie Robinson. It's a guy that I don't know that you would know, but we're doing Power 5. I made it a little bit easier.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I think I need to see it.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean,
who else comes to mind?
Okay. Well, obviously, at one point, Bear Bryant had the record, but somebody has passed Bear Bryant, and I'm going to say it's Joe Paterno.
And you are correct.
Okay.
Joe Pa. 409.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I did some research.
Where was Eddie Robinson?
Eddie Robinson, I think, was number 3.
All time.
All time,
Yeah.
from any level. But number 1, John Magliardi. You ever heard of that name?
I haven't.
He coached at St. John's at the NAIA level.
Let's go Redmond.
And won a lot of games, but I was like, I'm not asking him that one.
Did they have stands on both sides?
No. A lot of tarps over the over the bleachers.
Okay, a lot of you have seen little sound bites of Lane Kiffin yesterday, but I'm not sure that any of you have seen 20 minutes. Now, I will tell you up front, I'm in no position to critique anybody's hair, but it did appear to me that he fell out of bed and came downstairs.
That's what it looked like.
I was like, comb your hair. Represent your school. But all kidding aside, here is Lane Kiffin, and remember this thought as you're watching this. What he said, there's a lot of truth, but because he said it instead of a Nick Saban, I don't think it'll get nearly the careful attention that it probably deserves. Here is the rant. Lane Kiffin needs a hairbrush.
Some topics here that are out there, and so I'm going to address the portal NIL. what I kind of call disaster that we're in. And so I know that question is going to come. And the reason why I break that down usually is because I do afterwards get a lot of feedback from you guys in the media or fans that they're appreciative, of a coach that really addresses where it's at and what are the challenges with it. So first off, I've always said I think it's phenomenal that players get a chance to get paid, which is great. I do think, which I've stood up here and said before when it first happened, that there's going to be some major issues, and we're creating free agency with the portal. And with NIL, you've got a lot of pay for play going on, and that is what it is. So, those two things combining, there just is not a system in place. And I don't think that there's any other sports at any level that are like this, that really you every year can opt into free agency, really twice a year. And I mean, I was just thinking on a plane ride over here, what if you had that in other sports? Tom Brady, Asia Wilson, Lionel Messi, LeBron James. What if every year those guys can opt into free agency twice a year, really, and they got no long-term contracts? Basically, everybody's not even on a 1-month contract because they can leave in 2 windows. So it's just created a lot of issues, and these roster changes, and I'm not complaining about it because we take advantage, obviously, of free agency. But at the same time, I don't think that's really good for college football. These massive overhauls of rosters every year really is not in the best interest of college football. And then when you add the NIL at the same time, we've created, I've said it before, we got different caps and no luxury taxes. So now we got professional sports, because that really is what we are, what's been created now. And there's no caps on what guys can make or what teams' payrolls are. So when this first came out, it said, all right, basically whatever programs have the most aggressive boosters with the most money are going to get the players. And now we're adding some states that now you don't have to follow NCAA, and now the university can take their money and give it to the collective to give to the players. So now we really have pay for play, that the biggest schools with the most donors, most aggressive, and the school wants to spend the most money paying the players for play to come to their school is where we're at. So there's kind of your State of the Union on the situation of what all coaches are dealing with around the country. And really a poor system that isn't getting better now is going to get worse with this, because again, now we just look at recruiting rankings and you're going to see that they usually are going to follow this, donor base and what schools are going to decide to give the most money to the players. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it like we do with everything else, but somehow it's got to get fixed because there's no system around it. So, we did a really neat thing this off season with mental health training for our staff. Myself, our coaching staff, everyone in our building went through a class. And I know at first people may think, okay, well, that's a good recruiting tool that you can say, hey, which I didn't even know at the time, we're the first staff to do this, that's trained in mental health. And be able to say that to parents in recruiting. That was not the motive at all. It really, when I talk about, creating a new box, not just thinking outside the box, and we do that in analytics, we do that in all areas, I feel like, in our program. We don't ever do anything because it's in that old book of how to coach and how to do things. In this mental health area, it really was not in that old school coaching book at all. It was just, hey, shut up and go practice and play, especially in the sport of football. So just over the years of going through so many mental health issues with our players and coaches, and not having tools and not having a really good system in place, besides just sending them, across campus. to a mental health specialist. So I was excited to do that, and just excited for the education with that, and the ability to see things and help our players is really neat, because they just go through so much. Players always have, but now because of the social media and every play, everywhere, everybody's seen every play, our players go through a lot. I mean, I remember they're kids, and they read all those things when fans or media say this play and they lost the game, and it's really challenging when you talk to the kids about how much that wears on them, as well as all the other issues they have to deal with. So that was pretty neat. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go ahead and take questions. Go ahead, start right
Jake Thompson, the Ole Miss Spirit, laying the penalties and the end of the Tennessee kind of investigation with all that came out this past week. Obviously, your history with that program and other programs that kind of going through those penalties, just your thoughts on that overall.
Well, that didn't take long. I got a lot of thoughts on that case, and the case at USC and the case at Tennessee, and the penalties and all that. And I'm not really going to get into that. We're here to talk about the Ole Miss team. Happy for Coach Heupel. I read where he was ecstatic about the penalties and the $8 million fine. So that kind of probably tells you about how severe the penalties are in their eyes. So I'm happy for them that they don't have to go through what we went through. So good for them.
Coach, we'll go into this middle section just to your right, second row.
Lane, hey, Joe Goodman, AL.com. I appreciated your candor on NIL. You're the czar of college football. How do you fix it? And that's the natural follow-up to your State of the Union.
Yeah, I don't like, it's like I tell our staff, I don't like you to tell me the problems but not the solution. So I feel like that in this one, that I don't have the exact solution, because it is so complicated, and the commissioner, who's much more educated than I on these things, because I used to say they should be employees so they can have real contracts, so when you come, you can sign somebody to a 2, 3, 4-year contract, and but there's way more issues. That solves one problem, I think he said, but then it opens up 5, 10 more when they're actually employees of a university. So I don't have the exact answers. I've always said, when asked, shorten the windows, so at least we know what your roster is, and not so many chances for players, because really, like I said, I like the players get paid, but there's no other system like it. Like the player, I've told our players, I've told our parents of our significant players, like, it is a great time to be a kid or a parent, okay, with where college football is. I'm like, they'll probably eventually fix this, so you will be this one window of a couple years where you literally can leverage your program every window, or you can go into free agency and find the most money out there. And now we're seeing you really get paid 3 times if you want to. You can get paid coming out of high school. You can one-time transfer, go in, get the most money, get paid again. Then you can grad transfer and get paid again. So eventually you're not going to be able to do that, I would think, and have that leverage basically every semester to do that. So I've told them it's an awesome time for them.
Coach, will stay in the same section over on the right-hand side, right aisle, second row.
Hey Lane, Andy Witchery with On3. The Grove Collective is one of the 7 that's formed a collective association, and they plan on introducing a revenue sharing bill, or a model rather. So similar to the last question, what are your thoughts on potential revenue sharing in the future?
Okay, that mic went a little bit in and out there. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the collective at Ole Miss is one of 7 that has formed a collective association, and they plan to introduce a revenue sharing model in the near future. What are your thoughts on a potential revenue sharing model for college football players?
Yeah, I think there, again, almost like everything on this subject, there's good and bad to everything that comes in. I think that revenue sharing, on the surface would be great, because the players are getting paid, and it's coming from the money they're helping make the university. But again, I kind of try to think things through, and the other things that happen when you do something, just like when everybody was like, oh, we got this NIL, it's great, and you know, in this portal, it's great. Whoa. Like, and I'm not saying I was the only one saying, I'm like, whoa, this is a disaster coming, because you just legalized cheating, and you just told donors they can pay the players. That's what you did. And then, you know, it's supposed to be set up, well, it's really for your name, image, likeness, for your marketing. Again, that's not what happened. That's not what's happening. They're getting paid to go to school, so it's pay for play. So the revenue sharing sounds really good, but then they're like, okay, well, we're going to revenue share, and then that's all they get. And I said, well, okay, well, wait. But then they're still going to have NIL, which really isn't NIL for probably 99% of the kids. They're not really getting the money for their marketing rights. So then revenue sharing would be good, but then you're still going to have this. So they say, well, revenue sharing would make it an equal playing field, which is what Insta always wants to do, make things equal playing field. Well, obviously is what we described, with no salary cap and everybody operating off of different budgets. That's not anywhere close. So I don't know that that fixes it. It sounds good, but then you're still going to have, here's your revenue sharing pot that everybody's the same, but then here you're still going to have all this other money that donors can go give players, or the way it is now, in some states, the school just funnels the money to the players.
Coach will go over here to our left on the near aisle.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media here in Nashville and Huntsville. You know, for decades, head coaches have been reminding players don't do anything to embarrass themselves, their family, teammates, and the university. Now, in this new college football world that we see with NIL, the transfer portal, how much more difficult is it for a head coach to get that message across, not just to the student athletes, but also to staff members as well?
Well, I think that's always challenging. I think the challenge now is everything they do is public, you know, so anything they do that maybe years ago, because the cell phone videos and everything, you know, didn't get out there, that basically you've got to figure that someone's watching in everything you do all the time. So it is more challenging for these guys. That is a great thing. You know, one of the few things that are great about cell phones is that, actually, because now the players are held more accountable in everything that they do. So in that way, it's gotten easier.
Coach will go straight in front of you, fourth row.
Hey, Coach Otmore Richardson from OrangeBloods.com. Coach, you and Steve Sarkisian are obviously really good friends. I want to see if you can tell me maybe how that friendship formed, if you have any good Lane Kiffin stories about that friendship, and of course, your thoughts on Texas joining the SEC.
Well, it's Texas, Oklahoma. I'll go backwards there. Texas, Oklahoma coming in is amazing. I mean, I already look at our schedule, or like when they put out the one for 2024, and I actually joked to Steve Sarkisian yesterday about the scheduling, and I was like, well, I don't know why any coach would want to go to the NFL. Like, we're in it now. So, I mean, our schedule's like playing the NFL in the SEC now, especially adding those two. So, you know, hats off to the commissioner for getting that done and making the super conference of all time. And really, the way it's set up, it's really like it's kind of everybody else and then that. You know, when you put together the competitiveness of the schedule compared to any other conference. I've had a great relationship with Sark. I've kind of said before, we kind of both grew up fast by being the USC experience and being part of Coach Carroll's staff and all the great players there. And, you know, I think 34 straight wins, and if we can tackle Vince Young, you know, 3 straight national championships. So that was really cool to go through that with him. And then we've just always stayed close. I think he's doing awesome there. And, you know, the way he's flipped the roster and recruiting at such a high level and signing Arch, I think the future is extremely bright for Texas football.
So that is a little bit of what went on yesterday with Lane Kiffin. Couple of things. He's an interesting bird. he's not afraid to say some things. And a lot of what he said yesterday is the truth, but may get dumbed down a little bit because he's the one saying it, as opposed to what the reaction might have been if Nick Saban had said it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you look up there and, you look at his hair, kind of the way he presents himself, and it's just
disheveled.
It's hard to take him
as serious as you'd like to.
Yes.
And I'm not sure he wants to be taken seriously.
No. But I still think, he's known for, this is his fourth year in the SEC. He's known for making comments like this at SEC media days in front of the media.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard something interesting from Neil McCready, who's covered Ole Miss forever, on an interview with the Next Round in Birmingham. And, Neil talked about how during the season and in fall camp, Lane Kiffin's kind of, the Bill Belichick, he's how's your quarterback situation, Lane? Oh, I don't know.
One game at a time.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati. He doesn't give you a lot. He doesn't give the local media a lot. So anytime he's able to step out into the national media spotlight, he takes his opportunity. And,
it does seem that way.
And I give credit to him. I mean, look at read all the articles that have been written about this. I turned the channel to ESPN this morning. It's Lane Kiffin's NIL comments.
Absolutely.
He got the word out there.
He got them.
What's it worth? Does anything change? Does this prompt, any decisions on or shifting of mindsets?
No,
probably not.
No. What might is the new head of the NCAA pushing the way he is toward Congress, even though none of us deep down really want Congress involved. That's the only answer.
Yeah, and he mentioned that. There needs to be some legislation on NIL, and who knows? When does it happen? Does it ever happen? Maybe not. This is so far the last couple of years of NIL. We've been in it, and this is the world of college football. And I don't know how much it'll change. I really don't.
Next week when we run some of what we did on Sunday, because that's about an hour and 45 minutes of some of the best college football talk you'll ever hear. One thing that is apparent, and look, this is not exactly curing cancer. If you take out poor old UL Monroe or North Texas or whoever SEC teams are playing in September, and all of a sudden now you're putting in their place an Oklahoma or a Texas and or both.
Woo.
The old days of 10-2 being good enough, you might have to lower it to about 8-4.
Watson talked about that.
Yes, he sure did.
He brought it up, and there's going to be some coaches when Texas and OU come in that won't be happy about their 7-5 season or 6-6. So there's a ton of good stuff in that.
People have asked how can they participate in Ask the Director, which is coming up after the break. If somebody's watching this right now live and you got a question you want me to get into, how do you do it?
Well, go to YouTube. There's a comment section on that right side of the stream. Type in your YouTube question for George. I've got 3 or 4 lined up for George that I'll ask, but we'll also field your questions. So Ask the Director coming up. You can type them at the bottom of the Twitter stream as well. Also on Facebook. So wherever you're watching the George Plaster Show, you can type in your question. I'll see it immediately, and I'll see if George can answer it.
From First Horizon Park, stay tuned. Ask the Director is next.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5555.
5685. You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the three biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through 2 different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us. So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. We are back, and it is time for, well, it's not something any of you have breathlessly awaited, but it is Ask the Director.
We start with John on Twitter chiming in.
John on Twitter,
yeah,
I like it.
Little Twitter question.
Okay.
He's asked about SEC Media Days. George, how much has SEC Media Days changed?
Oh, gosh. Well, first of all, when I was growing up, and before I ever got into this business in the 60s and 70s, they had what was called the SEC Skyriders Tour, where they flew on a private plane to the various, 10 cities.
Really?
Yeah. And it was a big drunk fest. And some of the behavior.
The hospitality suite?
Oh, my God. It was open at all times.
I heard Chris Lowe talking about that this week.
Now, it was not around when he first got into media, but it was legendary. Did they get a lot out of it? Yeah, it was a different day and time where the relationships between media and coaches was a lot more open. Coaches are very guarded now. They don't want to
close
say
to the vest.
Yeah, they don't want to say anything.
Yeah,
because they fear one of two things. They'll get ripped, and or it'll get on bulletin board material.
Yeah.
And look, some of the questions are downright Super Bowl stupid. Some of them are very good, but the coaches are really guarded, and that's a shame that it's had to get to that.
Well, and think about all the cameras that were at Media Days this week. What's it about now? It's about TV.
Coach, how's your running game? You never heard that one.
But no, it's not about those questions anymore.
No.
It's about the NIL. It's about transfer portal. It's about the SEC network production.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a made for TV event. just like everything else is now.
By the way, before anybody asks it, I thought the SEC network did a decent job on the Roy Kramer deal. I watched it.
I didn't see it.
Ryan McGee did fine, but man, there's a lot of territory they just sort of skipped over, kind of gave it a
over the old head.
Yeah, that should have been an hour.
What was it? 30 minutes?
30 minutes. I thought.
So it was a little mini documentary.
They could have done better. Now, that's not Ryan McGee's fault, but that should have been an hour.
Let me guess.
And they're looking for enough content. I don't understand that.
Let me guess. It was all about him as the commissioner.
Yeah,
not
virtually
the coach.
no Vandy in
Right.
there, because there's a lot of things in his Vandy days. The steroid scandal.
You could argue he's one of the more impactful, or the most impactful, person in Vanderbilt history in athletics.
The turning down of Mike Krzyzewski, and instead hiring Richard Schmidt, which was a disaster, which forced his hand 2 years later to hire CM Newton. There was a lot that got glossed over there.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
George, this is from me. I'm going to go to mine now.
Okay.
And again, if you got a question for George, throw them on the YouTube channel, or if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on Facebook, type in your question. I'll get them over to George. Here's my question. DeAndre Hopkins has signed with the Titans. Of course, Kevin Byard, we mentioned him clearing some space out for that to happen.
Yeah.
How much will Hopkins actually help the Titans?
Well, that's a really good question. How much is left in his tank? I think it's considerably more than Julio, who had absolutely nothing left, never played on third downs, which may or may not be his fault. This just in, they're going to throw to him a lot. Why? Because at the moment, other than Treylon Burks, they don't have anybody that for sure you can count on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got Nick Westbrook-Akine. He's a 3.5 in the wide receiver room.
You got Kyle Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to know.
But he didn't even play last year.
Yeah, we're going to know because they don't have any choice.
They're going to have to.
We're going to find out pretty damn quick.
Does it feel different than a Julio, than a Andre Johnson, than a Randy Moss? Does it feel different than those guys?
I don't know.
Can't tell yet?
It's too early to tell. We haven't seen him to any great extent.
Because
but
I've heard a lot of that. People wanting to come out and say
there's negativity.
Well, the other side, this is different than those guys.
Oh, I mean, I hope it is.
Yeah.
Now, what could it do if he were close?
There's no reason you can say that right now. I mean,
if he were close to what he was in his total prime, then you might make the argument that they have moved dead even with Jacksonville. That said, we don't know, but that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to take another leap.
Yeah.
This guy's got a cannon for an arm. Now they've got some confidence. Who knows about the Titans' offensive line? Ultimately, that's the big thing that I don't think they've solved. And when Nicholas, say it for me, Petite Frere,
I don't who knows.
When he got caught in the gambling stuff, there's no team that could afford to lose an offensive lineman less than the Titans. Good Lord.
All right, let's go to Major League Baseball.
Let's do.
And nothing about this season, but about the future of expansion in Major League Baseball. We've talked about Nashville and what are their chances of getting a Major League Baseball team. I think we know the chances right now. The chances might be high, but it's a matter of time, right? It probably won't happen until another decade or so, maybe longer. But my question is, how would Nashville support a Major League Baseball team?
I think they'd do great.
Why?
Because, I mean, look around. Look around here, for instance. People are looking for summer entertainment.
Yeah.
This is, the tourism that comes through here. That would do nothing but help Major League Baseball. Look, there is no doubt in my mind, and I've talked to some people who know a lot more than I do. Nashville is a market that Major League Baseball football is very interested in. But if in the winter meetings here, we have no more to offer than we have today, it's not going to look real good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to want at some point presentations from Nashville and Charlotte and Oklahoma City and Portland and Salt Lake City. And right now, and this is subject to change, this group, which has stepped out to say we're the leader that's going to bring it to you, they have no owner.
Well, and where would they put the stadium?
We have no idea. I mean, this is all, look, John Lore's proclamation that the stadium now is going to be over at TSU is poppycock. It's not going to be at TSU.
That ain't happening.
I don't think so.
So I think it's interesting.
I wonder if it's even in Davidson County. I don't know.
Is it a situation with the Braves and like it's Cobb County?
Could be.
Because isn't Cobb County essentially the Williamson County
Probably.
of
Cobb County appears to be where all their season ticket holders were
anyway.
And it gives them less of an excuse not to come out. They are averaging
monster
almost
numbers.
40,000 a night. Willie was telling me he and Mahoney went Tuesday night against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Mahoney wore a Mets jersey.
Oh,
that's a violation of the Geneva Convention. and Mahoney has been told that. We are not to see that in Truist Park. Get it the hell out of here.
Is that why they didn't invite you?
I don't know.
But yeah, Willie swung down there in the middle of SEC Media Days and then came back.
Mahoney is
baseball tournament.
Yeah, baseball tournament. So why not?
Why not? All right, George, last one for me. College football season coming up. Of course, week 0, about 36 days away. Vanderbilt and Hawaii.
5 weeks away.
We'll tee it off.
Man.
Fall camp really starts next week for a lot of schools. My question for you right now at this moment, does Vanderbilt make a bowl game this year?
Would you help me with one piece of it?
Yeah.
Give me, look up their schedule really quick.
Okay.
The assumption is that they will start 2-0. Hawaii at home, who they absolutely blasted a year ago.
Yep.
Alabama A&M. So under that argument, they have to start 2-0. Keep going.
Wake Forest. At Wake Forest.
Not likely.
At UNLV in Vegas.
Needs to be a win.
Allegiant Stadium.
If you're going to find a 6th win, that needs to happen.
Wake Forest, not likely, even without Sam Hartman.
Well, keep going.
Kentucky at home.
Keep going.
Missouri at home.
Keep going.
At Florida.
I'm not saying those are losses. I'm just saying keep going.
At Florida.
Okay.
Georgia at home.
See, you're better off almost having your home games be the ones you can win.
Yeah.
You're not, I mean, on paper, you're not beating Georgia.
You get Missouri and Auburn at home. So, and they got to go to Ole Miss. That'll be tough. You get Auburn at home.
Yeah.
At South Carolina, who they haven't beaten since 2008.
Right.
And then at
Tennessee. I would say, looking at that schedule, no. I would say
the gut feeling.
And they could be better athletically, that they could be a better product and not have more wins.
That's what I told Chris Lee a couple days ago. I said Vanderbilt could make substantial improvements this year, but still be 5-7.
Yeah.
Right now, if there's some not swing games, but toss-ups. There's probably 5 toss-ups in there for Vanderbilt. I think Wake Forest is a toss-up. Kentucky, Missouri, Florida, and Auburn. Those 5 right there, they can win. I'm not saying they can win all 5 in one season. But they very well could also lose all 5. That's the problem.
We don't know what Auburn is. Under Hugh Freeze, you've got to figure offensively, they're going to be pretty darn good. I think he's going to take a quarterback situation that was very muddled a year ago. The kid that played at the end has great wheels.
He does.
And that's kind of a Hugh Freeze deal.
Yeah, and I said this, Vanderbilt kind of got the bad end of the stick there, drawing Auburn late in the season, instead of early on. You draw Auburn early in the season, I like Vandy, especially since it's at home. I might like Vandy in that one. But, yeah, Missouri is a team that they should have won that game last year. They found a way to beat Kentucky and Florida, so can they do that again? Right? So, in those 4 non-conference games, they should win. Now, at Wake Forest is a game that's tough.
I'm not saying they should win at Wake Forest.
Should
win at UNLV?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're not going as far to say not winning at Wake Forest, or you shouldn't win.
Oh, I don't think they would be favored.
No, they wouldn't be favored. But I mean, if year 3 of Clark Lee, you've got your team to a point where you think you can go win on the road at Wake Forest. They won a road game last year at Kentucky. So where does the road game against a team you shouldn't beat come this year? That's the question for me, because they did it last year.
I feel like one of the SEC coaches playing dodgeball. I'm not giving very good answers on this one, am I?
But no, I mean, George, I see what you're saying with right. You're sitting here saying they could go 4-8 or 5-7, but still improve.
Yeah, they have to get 3 non-conference
at least.
If they get 4, you might be right. Wake Forest might be the difference between a bowl and not a bowl. Who knows?
That week 3 game against Wake Forest is the game of the year, I think, for me.
Sure might be.
So that's all I got, George.
Okay. We'll go to the break on that. Plaster bet of the day after basically last night getting a mulligan. God bless the Oakland A's. We'll explain that when we come back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Byard, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Byard difference at byarddifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Final segment on a Friday, broadcasting live from the beautiful First Horizon Park in, I guess you call it downtown Nashville.
Just to the left of it.
Downtown is growing, so we'll see how much it continues to grow. I would say
Germantown.
Here in Germantown. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day. Last one of the week. It's been a decent week for Plaz. Give him a call. Bart Durham, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened this week for George. Like I said, it's been a solid week. 3-2 this week. Started out with the Braves, lost a couple in a row, but you got back on track with the Mets and the Astros against Oakland. Boy, you went on a limb there.
You know, I fell asleep on it, and the A's were up 1-0. This just in, it didn't stay that way.
You can tell they love this team here in Oakland.
Oh, gosh. There are sections available. There's an upper deck
that's blocked off.
Oh, my God. It's completely available. The Washington is a really bad team.
Yeah.
And I don't see it getting a lot better anytime soon. San Fran, this is a team that I cannot figure. They are really pretty darn good. I think they go on the road and get it done in Washington against the Nats. We're taking the G-men.
The Nats and the A's have been bet against.
Oh, they have in the last 2 days. Hey, before we go, first of all, congratulations to Adam English and the entire Sounds front office. They are drawing like crazy. They will be close to sellouts in all 3 of these games. If you're coming, in other words, Friday night, Saturday night, and a Sunday night at 6:05 game, check with the box office. They've got tickets available, but it will get tight with the walk-up. It's a nice problem they've got. They got a ton of groups coming out here. People are really having a good time. Monday on the show, a lot of things. We hope to be joined by the big man from the Sports Council, the executive director, Scott Ramsey. I thought he and his staff did a wonderful job. The city looked really good with SEC Media Days. We will talk to him about that. We'll also probably bring you an interview that we did last week. Toward the end of next week, we will run in its entirety the hour and 45 minutes that we did last Sunday night in the Sports Speaker Series. I'll also tell you early next week, we will release the 4th installment of our Sports Speaker Series, and it's going to be really good. I'm fired
tuned.
up about it. All of you have a great weekend. Billy, behave.
George, take it easy.
See all of you Monday. Have a good weekend.